Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our channel, Paws On Animation.
Today we're covering something we never thought we'd cover, the first Fast and Furious movie.
Yes, and given that this franchise has been going on for years and will soon be ending with an 11th movie, we thought we'd actually give the full film series a try. And we weren't disappointed.
Yes. And before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, and notification for some future podcasts and all the pause videos.
Yes, and thank you for subscribing and for sharing our videos. We appreciate you and it helps us out a lot. So let's be honest here. Rascal was the one who was really pushing to watch this series.
Yeah.
I had seen the first and I think the second movie only. And then years ago, she had us begin watching it, and we watched I think the first 4, and then we stopped.
For
and then
some
last
reason, yeah.
year we went back and began again with number 1 and watched number 1 through number 9. No, number 10.
No, 10, yeah.
We got some
all
from the
in 1 year.
library. We actually owned some of them, and then we saw a few on Netflix stream there, and then we saw 2 on Prime.
Yes, and then the last ones we rented.
Yes, so for those of you who don't know, and it would be almost impossible, the first one is the Fast and the Furious, but the entire franchise is known as Fast and Furious. This is an American media franchise, and it's action films, and you've got a core group of characters, and it also includes some short films which we haven't seen, a TV series which we try, we'll get to that later, toys, video games, live shows, theme park attractions. So it's really successful, and the films are distributed by Universal Pictures. So as you mentioned, there have been 10, and there's also been a few shoot-offs like Hobbs and Shaw.
Yes, that is one of the spin-off movies starring Dwayne Johnson and I'm sorry, who's the other one?
I know.
Ian McShane, not Ian McShane. Duh.
No.
Almost messed up there.
I know.
Well, we know him. Never mind. Anyway.
He plays a tough guy all the time. Jason Statham.
Jason Statham, yeah.
So we're going to start with the first movie, which originally was released in June of 2001.
Yes, that long ago.
This movie was directed by Rob Cohen. And we want to point that out because each movie has had various directors. There have been a couple that have done more than one, but each time we give you the movie, we want you to know who directed it. And for this movie, Brian O'Connor, played by the late Paul Walker, is a Los Angeles Police Department officer. He goes undercover in the street racing world to investigate a group of unknown truck hijackers believed to be led by Dominic Toretto, played by Vin Diesel.
Yes. And what was actually great about rewatching this movie is that there were some things we did remember, but most of it we didn't. So it was like seeing it for the first time again, which is one of those rare things you really want to do when you have something you really love. And you could really tell why this ended up becoming such a hit from the time it came out. It seemed like something that would be sort of run the mill with the type of street racing movie, but they gave it a story, they gave it depth. Dominic Toretto is really likable.
Yes.
There's definitely more than just being the tough guy or the motorhead that just knows the cars and stuff. They try to make fun of him years later, I'll get to that in a little bit, but not only does he stand out so much as a character, but the movie sets up one of the core themes of the franchise later on about family and teamwork and everything.
And that's what I was going to say. Some elements are what made it really relatable for lots of people, whether they're into racing or not, and made it enjoyable. One is the family concept, which is introduced from the very beginning in the first movie, and it just builds as each movie comes out, each sequel comes out. And also, Paul Walker's character is likable as well.
Yes.
And you also like Dominic's family, and you're kind of introduced to them, and then as each movie goes along, you're introduced to more characters brought in, and the cast just grows and grows.
Yes, as his family grows, yes.
And what's funny is there were some characters that I really didn't think I would like in the beginning, like Letty. I didn't think I would, and I ended up loving her.
Right.
And then There are other characters we just won't go down the line because there's too many.
Right, and it's
but
going on
you
forever.
end up liking each one as they're introduced and as you get to know them. And that reminds me of Voltron, and I know it's animated, but some other series you watch and like Demon Slayer, where each one's introduced and you're like, you don't think you're gonna like them, and then you end up loving them.
Right.
And you end up understanding why they're central and intricate to the story and the unfolding.
Right. And you get attached to the characters from the very first movie.
Yes.
And not only do you not expect to like these characters so much, but Paul Walker's character ends up really bonding with Dom, and he sees that he's not just some hardened criminal or ex-con or someone who's a dirty thief or some type of stereotype that usually is prevalent when they have street races, that they're always part of some criminal underground kingpin type thing. And he's not that man that the law enforcement or others have portrayed him. He really is a stand-up guy, and something that pretty much stays prevalent with the whole franchise, because it's rare to have a character like that anymore, especially when they start having villains to try to test how much can he keep his family code intact and really keep it clean. So I do like that they actually had that built in from the beginning.
Now, there's a channel called Vibe, I think if I'm not mistaken, that did a documentary series on the Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
We watched it and it's absolutely excellent. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out. So this series is actually based on Racer X, written by Ken Lee. And the first movie runs 106 minutes, had a budget of $38 million, and made $207 million at the box office.
Wow.
And that was the beginning of the ever-growing popularity and the money attraction, the magnet
Right.
of this series. So quickly, let me give a shout out to the
Actors?
yes, thank you. Paul Walker, Vin Diesel, Michelle Rodriguez, Jordana Brewster, Rick Hume, Chad Lindbergh, Johnny Strong, and Ted Levine.
Wow, it's an
And some
all-star
of these
cast.
people we weren't familiar with prior to the movie, now we know who they are, and they're like family.
Yes.
But I think what really makes it work so well is the chemistry between Paul Walker and Vin Diesel.
Yes.
And we learned that off camera it was the same.
Right. It was
Between them,
genuine.
they really were a family, all of them, on camera and off camera. And that's so important. That reminds me, here we go, of Supernatural.
Yes.
My favorite TV series of all time. And Justin and Jared were family, off camera as well as on, and their families, their children and wives. And this was the same way, and it came through with every single movie we watched. What's really nice is watching this first movie a second time. The first time we didn't catch it,
Right.
but the second time we did. And then after seeing the documentary, it just pulled everything together.
Right.
This is why this franchise has lasted so long. Some people probably,
And I
when's
think
it
we
gonna
were
end?
too before we actually started watching it.
When is it going to end? Why does it last? It lasts because they're real. The actors are real. The bonds are real. The family is real. Not just a trope that's used in a movie, but off camera as well. And there's a love between them
Yeah.
that comes through in their performances. And that's another thing. Their performances are off the chain. There's no other way to put it. They are fantastic. You don't watch this and go, well, this person, these people are great, but this person or these people aren't doing well. Everyone is authentic, as you mentioned, and believable, and it seems real.
Yes, and that is part of the charm of it, is really that and all the interaction. That's when you have some of your best performances and characters in a live action movie. And really want to bring this up quickly because it still has to do with the movie. For those who watch Ben 10's reboot series, you might notice that there's a character they have in there based off, well, it's not even based off, it's just thinly veiled. There's been times where the theme of the movie has been mocked for using it as a crutch for the message and trying to keep the characters together is the family thing, and it's sort of been teased a bit for Dom bringing up every movie to a point where some found it a bit redundant or annoying. And it even got to a point where they had in the Ben 10 reboot, they had a character called Vin Ethanol. It's thinly veiled, basically almost non-copyright if they didn't change that one word. And there was a running gag with this character who was supposed to be a sort of line between a good guy and a bad guy. He did all his actions based on family. And by that we mean if he committed a crime or saved somebody, ran a race, or made any decision, it all had to be because of family. You can't turn your back on family. He built this car because it's like it's family to him. He helped one of his old teammates because they're family. You know, they betrayed him. They're still the family. And this has to do it because family. And they ran into the ground so much. You could tell that these writers were not big fans of the franchise, and they kept harping on the family thing like it was a pestering annoyance for him to talk about family all throughout the franchise. And now we watch the film, I think it's a bit insulting because that's what kept this franchise going. But now they're mocking it because, okay, you're talking about your family too much. Well, if he considers the whole cast his family, yes, he's gonna bring it up. No one ever said it was annoying that we're really loving the movies. It was just, okay, this is part of his character. His family is growing and growing, and he has a wife and a kid down the line and everything, and it's part of the story. Why is this considered annoying to you?
Before we go on, I want to make another self-correction. It was, this series is based on a Vibe magazine article.
Oh,
Race
Vibe.
to X. Okay. What makes sense now that they did the documentary series. That's fantastic. So, I want to mention that part of what made it really popular is that when scenes were filmed of the bystanders that watched the races and things, they used actual street racers to do this, and that was really incredible when you were watching the documentary how they explained that. And also Paul Walker and Ben Diesel, who I'm going to refer to as Walker and Diesel, or Paul and Ben, they attended actual street races in preparation for the film, and the principal photography was done with different locations, including Los Angeles and Southern California, and it actually received mixed reviews from critics, but it was praised for the action sequences and the performances by the stars, and it was considered their breakthrough roles, Diesel and Walker, but most of the criticism was towards the story. But actually, I love the story. And again, I love the characters.
So they just want all the action.
And the cars, of course, are another reason this has just stayed popular, because you're getting to see all these beautiful vehicles and people actually speaking in the language of the street racers.
Yes.
Knowing what they're talking about, being well written in terms of fluidity, and being relatable to people who are street racing. If you're not a street racer, you'll learn a heck of a lot by the time you finish the series, which we have. And it's fun just watching how everything goes. For those of you who may not like fan service, they got pretty girls with short skirts, there's fan service. But when we understand that is a part of the culture. And that's it.
It's like, all right.
Right, and it's not prevalent throughout the movie. It is in the racing scenes when they show up for, to watch the races. But really, this is just a great movie to watch. It's fantastic. And it's a great introduction to the franchise.
Yes.
It was done very well. And back to, one more thing I want to go back to are the action scenes and the special effects. Woo!
Right. And that's one of the biggest things that ended up being part of the franchise were the racing scenes and later the stunt scenes, and they will always get bigger and bigger and bigger with each film, to the point where we actually end up learning that majority of the time the actors were performing the stunts themselves. They barely used a stunt double, and we do mean rarely. If it was something that looked like it was a little too much, they used them, but majority of the time it was the same actors, and they were taking either multiple shots or multiple takes. So they were so dedicated to the roles, they were even willing to do the events themselves.
I think this movie is proof that just because critics get something, or they get Razzie Awards, or people say they don't like it, it's proof that if you have a vision, you should stick with it. Clearly, the people who came up with this franchise had a vision, and they kept going. It helped, of course, that the movie made back almost 10 times the amount it took to produce it. But what really helped is having a vision, sticking with it. When things weren't working as far as directors or writers and so forth, they improved upon it and they got people that fit in better, taking it in different directions as it went along, and they stuck with their vision. And it has paid off in so many ways, more ways than you can even talk about in this podcast, not be too long. And I think this should be inspiration for anyone having a vision of doing anything and having a dream, no matter the career it is or what area it is. This is inspirational. And again, knowing that regardless of what's going on around you, regardless of negativity and criticism, you know you got something good, keep working on it, sticking with it, building it, letting it move forward, and you will end up at your goal.
Yes.
Which this one ended up far surpassing all the goals they ever had.
Yes.
And we'll get to more of that as we talk about each succeeding movie.
Yes.
So if you've seen The Fast and the Furious, and we know you probably have, let us know in the comments. Do you love it? What did you think when you first saw it? Have you seen it more than once? Who's your favorite character? Let us know what you think. If you haven't seen it, it's available everywhere, including the library. You can see it, stream it, buy it. You can even buy the entire series right now. And if you love fun movies and summer movies, because for me, these are definitely summer movies, let us know what you think after you watch them.
Right. And if you haven't already, subscribe for updates and weekly videos for anime series, anime shows, and all things animation.
Absolutely. And thank you for joining us. Feel free to share this podcast. It helps out our channel a lot. And again, thank you for subscribing. You are special.
Yes. I'm Rascal Entertainment.
And I'm on Entertainment.
Have a toontastic day.
Peace.